We love Bali, and there's something really special about the island and how it makes us feel. The tropical setting with all the palm trees and the coconuts, those instantaneous downpours, that heat and humidity, the glowing sunrises and purple-pink sunsets. We love Balinese culture, the traditional music, the temples, and the warmth of the Balinese people. There's no better feeling than the freedom we feel riding on a scooter through villages. Bali makes us feel at peace. About 3 years ago, while we were in Bali, we decided to create a sort of travel show, all about us, what we think, and what we feel. But then we doubted ourselves and packed it away along with our dreams. The series was lost. But in the spirit of getting started, we've decided to share it, because sometimes losing your way is just a part of finding the path you are meant to be on. Welcome to the Lost series.
Welcome to our first episode. We're really excited to start this process that we've been talking about for a long time.
And I think today we're just going to introduce ourselves,
Who
our
we are.
background. We're going to do it in two parts. So for the first part, we're going to talk about our early life and how we met.
And then part two is all about our travels from 2015 and to current. Let's
All right.
start. My name is Martina. Sometimes people say Tina because it's easier.
I'm Richard. Sometimes I go by Alex.
We're both in our 30s. I was born in Zagreb in Croatia. I came to Canada when I was about 4 years old with my mom and dad. And that was in about 1989, right before the start, 2 years before the start of the Civil War, where Yugoslavia became a bunch of different countries, including Croatia. From an early age, travel became an important part of my life because I had to go back to Croatia and visit all of my family. We came to Canada when I was 4, first moved to Toronto, like most immigrants.
Not knowing any English.
Not
right?
knowing a word of English. Started school, was in Toronto for a few years, and then my parents decided to get out of the city. We moved to a small little town called Innisfil on Lake Simcoe. It's near Barrie, Ontario. It was a really nice upbringing because it was in a small town. Of course, I didn't feel that way when I was young.
Yeah.
Wanted to,
Yeah.
kill myself. But going back now, I really appreciate it, and I was fortunate to grow up in such a beautiful little town on the lake.
So for me, I was born in Toronto. I was raised in Guelph. I grew up in two separate households. My first flight was when I was 20 years old. So it's not that I didn't travel around. Okay, I can't really say travel, but we did vacations more for like going
Road
to the
trips.
cottage or road trips here and there, but not leaving really the province of Ontario.
And going on an airplane. Right?
Yeah, so until I was in my 20s.
So let me kind of fast forward. I did kind of the norm, what
Mhm.
society expects of you, which is you finish high school, you go to university for all the wrong reasons, which probably led to my demise there. Because I didn't do very well, when an opportunity came up for an airline that no longer exists, they were looking for Croatian qualified speakers to do their service announcements and safety announcements in Croatian. Went for the interview, I got the job, and I spent the summer flying all over Europe, and it was an awesome experience because it just strengthened my love for travel. It even brought me out west to West Canada to live in Vancouver, as you know, for 6 months. And I got to go to all these Caribbean locations for a week. Long stay sometimes.
But then that led you back to going back and finishing
Right.
university.
So I went back to school, and for this time it was for the right reasons. And let me stop right there because that's kind of where our story starts. So let Richard kind of catch up to...
Yeah, so my path to get to university was a little bit longer because I didn't do so well in high school. My number one interest was basketball, so I always focused on that and not doing my studies like I should. You're a year older than me, so that timing of it still managed to work out.
Right. So I started for the winter semester. That's kind of what led me and Richard together, because you lived in a house full of what, 4 guys?
Yeah, exactly. So I ended up spending a lot of time not going to class, playing video games and partying, and that led me to fail 4 of my 5 classes. But everything happens for a reason, and that led me to start over again, essentially, the second half, and that's how I first saw you. And the first class, within 5 minutes, I'm sitting there at the back of the class, and Martina just walks across the room. I was shy. I didn't want to approach her, and I was
Yeah,
like,
lack confidence.
I lack confidence, and I was also like, okay, I'm the bad kid at the back of the class, and she's the good, like, can I say brown noser? No, I don't think that's right. Goody good? I don't know.
I wasn't a brown noser. I
You were
wasn't
very
one
close.
of those
You were very
kids.
close to the professors,
Fine,
though. Yeah.
because I had, I can't see properly.
Okay.
I also have to sit in front of the
why,
class because of that. But I was never the type that was like, the annoying one that's like,
here's an apple, teacher.
or no, okay, that's like going old school. But I mean, like, stop asking questions so we can get out of class. No,
Yeah.
I was not that person.
No.
But I like I said, at that point,
You worked really hard.
I cared about what I was doing. It wasn't like high school or the first year of
When
university. It was
you
like,
left an amazing job.
yeah, and it was like this time I did it because I wanted to do it, not because somebody expected me to.
Then it was my decision. I was like, well, I'm not going to approach her in class because that just seems, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable doing that. And I needed some liquid courage.
Liquid courage.
Yeah, it was one of those things. It's like you plan for it and you think about it, but then when it happens, just everything disappears. And I just went like a beeline just straight to her. I didn't see the people around me, and so that first conversation was still like it flowed like we knew each other for such a long time.
I went home that night. We spoke just for a little bit, like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't long.
And I went home that night. I was at my girlfriend's place, and she went to bed, and it's like I couldn't stop thinking about him.
We're in a different place. Like my mentality at that time was like, okay, this is what I want.
Yeah, you were looking for me. I was kind of like, no, I want to be single.
Yeah, and so I think we took a long time building a friendship. There was nothing romantic about our relationship for a good almost 4 months.
Yeah, which to be honest, building a foundation of friendship was probably the best thing for our relationship, because we had countless nights on the phone talking to each other about what we love, what we hate, our strengths, our weaknesses, learning a lot about each other.
There's those mornings that went into where I remember it being dark and the sun coming up while we're still talking. Yeah. So it's like once that romantic part of it kicked in,
May 20th, kiss, wow. Yeah, like fireworks.
Yeah,
like however ridiculous that sounds, it really was.
That's exactly what it was.
Right by a campfire.
Yeah, and because it was something that built up for so long, like all those emotions,
and it wasn't.
I think we knew we loved each other before that even
happened. Exactly, because that's what it was too. It's like, because we had this friendship, because we knew each other, it wasn't this like nervous weirdness. It was like it just fit, like just two puzzle pieces.
It just melted together.
And even though our courtship, as Richard likes to call it, took very long, after that was pretty much like lightning.
Yeah. 3 months, and we were living together at our own place, which was in Barrie, looking over the lake, which is really beautiful apartment.
Beautiful place. And we stayed there for about 2 years?
Yeah, about that.
Until I made Richard go to Toronto, which...
Okay, so I've never been a fan of big cities. I don't like the crowds. I don't like the noise. When we first got together, I was like, I'll go with you wherever you want, but I'm not living in Toronto. I'm not going to do it.
But I wanted to go to kind of like a liberal arts college and do my honors degree in political science. And in order to do that, we pretty much had to live there, because I didn't want to commute like 2 to 3 hours a day just to do that.
Yeah, so one of my first lessons in compromise, I think. That was a big compromise, but at the same time, it's like it worked out.
With the help of my father, who's probably I'm biased, obviously, but I'm not the only one to say it. He's the most amazing broker.
He's amazing at what he does.
Amazing at what he does. He helped us secure this awesome property that we stayed at while I finished my degree. Mm-hmm. And then pretty much right after that, we moved downtown.
So we were outside, and then it was like right downtown, front and Spadina,
overlooking the Sky Dome,
and also
Rogers Center, or whatever.
And it was very small. like very
yeah,
small.
like less than like 500 square feet, I think, 500 to 600 square feet. Like the room wasn't even a room. It wasn't even a bedroom. And so I worked in the corporate field until I decided to not work anymore in the traditional sense. And Richard was working outside of Toronto a little bit, so he would have to commute by car.
So I worked in factories, and then I ended up getting a production supervisor position, and that's when we moved from downtown a little bit to the West End.
On paper, we were pretty successful.
We were moving in the right direction.
Yeah, our place
house
was beautiful.
Yeah, we had a 2-story condo.
Yeah, about 900 square
beautiful
feet.
outdoor
It was like
space
a brownstone.
And a barbecue that was amazing to have after being in so many apartments where we couldn't have that.
Yeah. Inside, I had decorated it to the T, like turquoise, white, dream. And that's probably where my obsession for turquoise began. We vacationed when work would allow. So, you know, in Canada, the norm is usually get about 2 weeks. So we went to the Caribbean. Richard's other really first trip was to
2012. Yeah.
2012 to Antigua.
Yeah,
and
Antigua.
Barbuda.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like that was like, to have that as your first trip to the Caribbean is like, it's almost like anywhere else you go just can't measure up, because it's just
like fluorescent turquoise water.
I've never seen anything
we
like
had,
it. Even after traveling now, after the 4 years, and
we
I
rented
still
a
haven't seen
Jeep.
anything like
We
it.
swam with stingrays. We had this local guy take us around and make lobster,
He did
tail
lobster
for us
on the
beach.
Insane.
It was just a beautiful experience. And then it was like, little by little, travel became more amazing.
So after that trip, it was like,
in 2013, right?
Yeah. So it's like when we came back from that trip, it's like, okay, what are we doing next? And for me, it was, okay, I want to go to Croatia.
It's where I'm from.
And I'd heard about it. It had been like 6 or 7 years at that point that we'd been together. And it's just like, I need to go there.
We got 3 weeks from our jobs, which was amazing. And so we decided to combine Croatia and Italy.
Because that's somewhere that you always wanted to go because of the whole under the Tuscan sun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we started in Zagreb. Richard met my family. We explored Zagreb. Then we went to Dubrovnik, which was before Game of Thrones craziness. It was still really, really crowded and packed, but nothing like today. And then after spending that time in Dubrovnik and swimming in the most beautiful seas.
Well, and I just want to like touch on that too. Is like, I tend to be a bit of an emotional person, and especially with travel, when I see something.
Yeah, how did you feel?
Breathtaking. It was. We took the cable car to the top, and then looking down on the city. It brought back to me all those images that I saw from the war and when it was being bombed, and how beautiful the entire coastline
and
was.
To see it in all its
not
glory.
just the city, but you could just see all the way down. You can see all the islands,
the turquoise water, the sparkling water surrounding it.
That hit me. I'll never forget that moment. So we flew from there. We flew from there to Rome. Yeah. And then we started our road trip.
Yeah, we rented
Italy.
a car.
Yeah.
And we did kind of all the Tuscan destinations you could dream of. And then we went where I really wanted to go. We went for a few days to the Amalfi Coast and stayed in Positano.
So then it was after we finished that trip and coming back, that's what really...
We finished in Venice, yeah.
So when you come back from a trip, it's okay, well, where are you going next? And
what did your boss say?
I came back and my boss said, you're never going to get a trip that long again. You're never going to get 3 weeks
we can
again.
be without you for 3 weeks.
Our plan after that was like, okay, she really wanted to go to Southeast Asia. So,
I had talked about it for a long time.
So we're like, well, that's where our next destination is going to be. And then leads how?
But how? When
you
we
only
were
have
like,
2 weeks.
Yeah, and it takes how long to get there?
It takes 2 days to get in and 2 days to get out. You have jet lag.
So,
and that leads
with that feeling, it's kind of what led to where we're currently at. So we'd love to kind of take you on that journey with us, but we're going to have to do it in a 2-part. So stay tuned with us, and we'll talk about it all in part 2 of our first video.
That's a good point to end it.
Bye, guys.
Bye.